Hey everyone, and welcome to the Disputed Lands. Today, I will be talking about Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree trailer, specifically some very interesting and strong parallels to George R. R. Martin's ancient lore in his book series A Song of Ice and Fire, surrounding the Shadowlands of Asshai. And if you didn't already know, George R. R. Martin is also a co-creator for the lore of Elden Ring. Now, I must disclose that I have not played the Elden Ring game, but I have some information for you that you are not going to want to miss. Basically, I'm going to tell you how this tree, this place, and this historical figure can inform you about this tree, this place, and this Elden Ring boss. So with that out of the way, one of the biggest things that stood out to me in the Elden Ring trailer is that there's a place called the Land of Shadow, and within the Land of Shadow, there is a dark inverse version of the Erdtree, dubbed the Shadow Tree, and within the Land of Shadow, we have a very enigmatic boss, with a lot of fire and dragon symbolism going on. Now, if you are a follower of my channel, and the ancient lore of A Song of Ice and Fire, you are probably already doing this in your mind right now. And our Elden Ring fans would probably be interested to know that in A Song of Ice and Fire, on the continent of Essos, there is a city called Asshai, within a region called the Shadowlands, that is shrouded in gloom and darkness, and constructed of oily black stone that is described as drinking the light. And you might already be aware that George R. R. Martin also has a magical tree within his series, with white bark and red leaves associated with the old gods, known as the weirwood tree, that can only be found on the continent of Westeros. But one thing you might not have known is that there is also a parallel magical tree on the continent of Essos with black wood and blue leaves called the Shade of the Evening that has similar yet dark and inverse powers. In addition to this, there is also evidence to suggest the phenomena causing this shadow in the Shadowlands in Asshai is also the same phenomena that made these trees a dark inversion to the weirwood, that is also described as drinking the light. And in the trailer, we see that there is the Land of Shadow that is highly evocative of Asshai, with a shadow tree growing in its center. And if you compare a normal Erdtree, the light given off appears to go down in rays to illuminate the darkness below. Whereas when you compare this to the original concept artwork, the tree in the Land of Shadow is giving off no rays of light, but instead appears to either be seeping faint strands of shadow, or inversely, might be representing the light being drawn up into the tree itself. This concept would later turn into a sort of spectral shadow veil, but the initial concept is there. And what's interesting for Elden Ring fans is that the Shadowlands in A Song of Ice and Fire were not always this way. Something happened in the ancient past to cause this corruption of both the trees and the land, and all the clues point to a man called the Bloodstone Emperor and the black stone that fell from the sky. According to the World Book, when the daughter of the Opal Emperor succeeded him as the Amethyst Empress, her envious younger brother cast her down and slew her, proclaiming himself the Bloodstone Emperor, and beginning a reign of terror. He practiced dark arts, torture, and necromancy, enslaved his people, took a tiger woman for his bride, feasted on human flesh, and cast down the true gods to worship a black stone that had fallen from the sky. Many scholars count the Bloodstone Emperor as the first high priest of the sinister Church of Starry Wisdom, which persists to this day in many port cities throughout the known world. In the annals of the Further East, it was the blood betrayal, as his usurpation is named, that ushered in the Age of Darkness, called the Long Night. So, according to legend, it was this blood betrayal that caused the Long Night. But there is more to it than just that. There is also a magical black stone brought down from the heavens, a stone that many believe is in reference to a type of meteor event. And this magical meteor event is likely what caused the corruption of both the Shadowlands of Essos and its magical trees. And what is truly interesting is that an Elden Ring YouTuber named Cosmos had pointed out that there is architecture in the Land of Shadow that is very reminiscent of a Blackstone civilization, possibly giving a link in the Land of Shadow to Blackstone as well.
and the ruins they rest on seems to be those of the Blackstone civilization, the same civilization behind the creation of the golems as well as the divine towers. Nothing is known about it beyond the fact that they have gone to ruin a very long time ago.
But the big kicker is that Messmer is also a deadbringer for the Bloodstone Emperor, the man responsible for the corruption of the lands and the trees. You see, the Bloodstone Emperor is likely part of a collection of legends known as the Azor Ahai monomyth, meaning that in-world there are various versions of his myth being told, and in some versions of the tale he is the hero, but in others he's a monster. But all have aspects that connect them to each other, and are just simply being told from a different point of view. Because, in reality, the villain of the story is simply the hero of the other side.
The greatest monsters of history, as we look back on them, thought they were the heroes of the story. You know, the villain is the hero of the other side, as sometimes said.
And although Azor Ahai is supposed to be the hero of the Long Night, the other version of him tells something completely different. And what we do know about Azor Ahai is that he is highly associated with fire. In fact, he is known as the warrior of fire. And we also know that he is associated with dragons, as the Great Empire of the Dawn were the first dragon lords and the predecessors to the Valyrian civilization. And when we compare that to Messmer, we pretty much have the same thing. We have a warrior of fire associated with dragons, as evidenced by the dragon symbols on his helm, the winged serpents coming from his body, and his draconic eyes. And so, if these Easter eggs and parallels are doing what I think they're doing, well then Messmer is likely who was responsible for the shadow in the shadow of the Erd Tree. And just as the Bloodstone Emperor grew envious and cast down and killed his sibling, there are hints that Messmer may have been displeased with someone ascending to their lordship. And while most have speculated that Messmer is referring to the Tarnished in the present, if Messmer is a parallel to the Bloodstone Emperor, well then I believe this line may have been spoken by him in the distant past.
Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light?
And what he did in response to this person ascending is likely why he has been kept a secret until now. Well, that about wraps things up for today. If you are an Elden Ring fan and would like to see more videos like these, discussing some of the parallels found in A Song of Ice and Fire, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. It helps the channel and lets me gauge your interest. And if I piqued your interest in The Shade of the Evening and Asshai, I have 2 videos linked in the description box below that you might be interested in for a deeper dive on the topic. A special thank you goes out to the members who support my channel.